Put my mic down. Are we live? Give me a sec, let me check.
Do not see us.
It is not a live stream until we are unsure whether or not we're live.
It doesn't look like we're live.
Nope.
Not
yet.
Yeah, that's the delay. We're a professional podcast.
Tonight.
This is a considerable delay. I have it on streaming and I started the broadcast.
Here we go, it's starting.
There.
Okay, good.
Okay, there we go.
And we are on excellent. Hey everyone, it's the Koopa Man, back from the depths of hell. So if anyone was wondering why I haven't been streaming or doing broadcasts or making videos or anything, contractors are the literal minions of Satan, and insurance companies are a KGB scam to subvert the United States. Anyway, joining me today are...
Hello, I'm the Sportsman.
And Craig.
And Squasher.
and Tracer.
Guten Tag, mein friend.
And we're going to talk about something that happened last month because we're going to talk about it last month. That being the Summer Games Fest. Hooray! Not really.
Yay!
Well, unlike last year, there are actually a few things of very interesting note with this particular presentation.
And unlike the last time we streamed, there weren't any drag queens.
Yay!
Yay.
Progress.
Well, there was one, but I barely remember her. Him. It. Whatever. Who cares?
Slanesh.
Slanesh.
Even Slanesh has standards.
I'm pretty sure it does not. That's the whole
Oh,
point.
go into the cult of it. They have standards. These people do not.
I'll take your word for it.
When even Slanesh has more standards than the modern left.
Anyway.
So, kicking off this Summer Games Fest was Sony and their PlayStation State of Play. And I have it written down in my notes. This was awful, and the PlayStation brand is more concerned on pushing Western socialist agendas than producing good games. They also opened with some diversity hires in a fake executive role, announcing that they acquired a studio after complaining about Microsoft doing the exact same thing for years on social media. The title from this acquired studio is an Overwatch clone with its lore ripped off from Guardians of the Galaxy. We're not going to be talking about it because who gives a shit.
So, typical California crap.
Yeah, typical California crap.
Can Sony please go back to Japan?
Yes, it should. But regardless, we did get a couple good things and a couple things worth talking about. First off, God of War Ragnarok. We know my history with this game. How about you guys?
Don't care for it.
Sorry, not my cup of tea. I've never been one for the God of War series, so it's just not my cup of tea.
Know the lore, never played the games, to be honest, not that interested, even though love Christopher Judge as the voice of Kratos.
Indeed.
I got into God of War 1 briefly, and then when Sony dropped support for PS2 games on PS3, when I bought my new PS3, I never got into it again, and I was left with a really sour taste in my mouth for that one.
Yep, I remember that.
Yeah, you're missing out because 2 and 3 were great. So were the PSP games,
I've never
actually.
known.
Funny enough, I actually used the music from God of War 3 as my workout music. Nothing quite like lifting weights to the sound of Heracles fighting Kratos. And yes, God of War, it's Heracles, not Hercules.
Hercules is
The
more
Greek
marketable.
demigod, not the Roman.
But it's coming to PC, so one game. I don't know why. I bought a PS5 with no games to buy. Lose exclusives at the end of the gen. I got no games to play. It's so unfair. I forget the lyrics.
Let's be fair here. You have plenty of games to play on your PS5. They're just not exclusive.
Yeah, but what makes or breaks a console is its exclusives, and that's what Sony has been saying for years, or at least its fan base. Even now, like, the fans are coping through salty, salty tears with their happy face masks that, oh, it's PC Master late. And it's like, I wasn't asking for God of War Ragnarok on the PC. I fucking hate this game and what it did to Norse mythology.
Speaking of exclusives, just like with a certain other Sony-backed game, God of War Ragnarok on the PC edition is being excluded from well over 160 countries for very obvious reasons.
Which is weird because it's a single-player game.
Don't matter. They still need to boost their PSN numbers.
Ah, fuck them. I mean, I got a PSN account, but that's because I used to play a PlayStation 3, but still, fuck them.
We will talk about the other game that has suffered from that decision.
Indeed we will. Those bastards. And this is why the only good pony is a dead pony that's been made into glue.
That's disrespectful to the pony.
A horse is a horse, of course, of course. And no one can talk to a horse, of course. But let's talk about Dynasty Warriors. Swords, you and I have a little bit of history with this.
Yes.
After God of War Ragnarok, they announced something actually good. They tried to hide the fact that it's also coming out on PC, which is why I checked the Steam store right away to make sure that it is indeed coming to PC. But Dynasty Warriors is back. Sorry, Swordsman.
Yep. Although I have never played the main series myself, I have played a lot of the spin-offs on the Switch.
Have you played Warriors of Orochi?
No.
Samurai Warriors?
I'm talking more about the Nintendo spin-offs, like Fire Emblem, Legend of Zelda.
Did you play the One Piece one?
No.
Did you play the Fist of the North Star one?
No.
They did Age of Calamity, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Age of...
Hot take, I like the original Zelda Warriors better.
That is a hot take.
It is indeed a hot take. The game based on Ocarina of Time is better than the game based on Breath of the Wild. Who could have figured?
Though you can't escape Breath of the Wild even there, Koopa, because you can get your Breath of the Wild Link in Zelda.
That's costumes.
There. Yes.
That's costumes. They're not shutting up the lore like the actual Breath of the Wild.
Breath of the Wild is great. You're just a hater.
Can we please stay on topic?
Yeah, sorry.
But yeah, Dynasty Warriors is back. It seems to be a prequel, or at least a reboot, which means we're once again going back to the Yellow Turban Rebellion.
Okay.
If anyone could explain what that was.
I have no idea what that is. I'm not a big history buff when it comes to Chinese history.
Anyone besides me know any Chinese history?
Barely. I know a tad bit about that period,
Nope.
but you know more about it than I do.
Okay, so like a long time ago, before basically the eve of the Romance of the Three Kingdoms, China was in a little bit of a state because like its ruling class had been taken over by its advisor class, basically instilling a really shitty bureaucracy through the eunuch class. Now, what's a eunuch? Well, I don't feel comfortable answering. Someone else should.
Who got his balls and dick cut off.
Yes, they were called eunuchs because the Chinese believe that in order to better effectively serve the emperor, they must have no ambitions of their own, therefore no family. Therefore, they got themselves castrated. This
is also to prevent any one of these guys from potentially, shall we say, marrying into royal family.
this
You catch my drift.
this didn't help matters because all that happened anyway, and they ended up taking over after the latest emperor died. The next in line was a young boy who was very close with the eunuchs, which caused a lot of tension and civil unrest in China, a lot of which was brought to the forefront by a group of basically Buddhist extremists who, funnily enough, wore yellow turbans and yellow headbands, and they started an uprising. This uprising was eventually put down by someone close to the royal family. I can't remember names exact or details exactly right now, but then he eventually got killed. And to make a long story short, it split China into basically 3 kingdom states, all fighting to decide who the next emperor is logically supposed to be. And the winner was an actual 4th state. And that's the romance of the 3 kingdoms.
Alrighty then.
So yeah, this Dynasty Warriors was a retelling of basically the romance of the 3 kingdoms, taken up into even more romanticized aspects, in that single named characters were able to take down thousands and thousands of nameless soldiers all by themselves.
To be fair,
Basically
most
pulling a Jon Snow from Game of Thrones.
Yeah, pretty much.
a lot of stories are filled with stuff like that. So a
So
lot of stories throughout history are filled with stuff like that. So
Yeah.
Yeah, basically the best way to look at this is the equivalent of a Viking saga, where, well, for example, looking at the trailer now, you have a dude with a sword who was throwing dudes into the air with single strikes. Which
Yeah.
I have to bring up, this is the funny contrast. Take out the overpowered main protagonists, you actually have a fairly realistic depiction of Chinese warfare from that time period, right down to the armor, equipment, and formations that they're using.
Mhm.
Which, ironically, I think is the best way to approach it. Your universe as realistic as you can, and it creates a nice contrast with your overpowered protagonists.
And now I'm thinking about a Vinland Saga Dynasty Warriors.
Though,
you-
Do it, you
somebody's
cowards.
gonna make that. Somebody is going to make that.
I
Do
do
it.
know one thing about Dynasty Warriors, because it became a meme that crossed over into the second Fire Emblem Dynasty Warriors spin-off game, because it got attached to Byleth, which is do not pursue Lubu.
Lubu.
So apparently that guy's like extremely hard to defeat.
Oh, he's an interesting story, but I don't have the details in front of me right now. He dies before the actual Romance of the Three Kingdoms even starts.
Yeah.
That's interesting considering his reputation.
No, he's already dead when the actual war starts. And he earned that death.
So
He-
we have a overhyped, mediocre game, a game that so far looked interesting.
And a game that's only Swords likes. Going into Marvel Rivals.
Now, I know you want to write it off as just an Overwatch clone,
Which
but
is
the
what
thing
it is.
The thing is, the team behind this has actually done a lot of their research in portraying these characters, and even getting small details that most people don't actually know, that only comic readers would care about, and even brought characters that most normies wouldn't even know
And that
as skins. Like, one of the skins for Peter Parker is the Scarlet Spider, but it's not Ben, it's Kane, who's far superior.
other Overwatch clone had Duke Nukem in it, and yet it's still in the trash bin of history. Swords, don't get your hopes up. It's an Overwatch clone.
I mean, if it was going to just be a cash grab, they wouldn't actually put any passion or effort in.
Or they're pretending to have passion and effort because it's going to have gotcha elements.
That would certainly explain the art style.
Look, all I'm saying is if you're waiting to draw another skin for Venom, paying like $5 after $5 to get it, don't say I didn't warn you.
After
having an established IP, though, is a good move.
Yeah, it is.
They're using specifically the skin from when he joined the Hand. Why can you not just use the classic Punisher skin from either the 1980s or from the Welcome Back Frank Castle series?
I think there might be a rights issue with that, actually.
Is that it for Marvel at Rivals X?
So, do you have any other defenses for this Overwatch clone?
I mean, I've never actually played the original Overwatch, so
It's
I can't
not that
really
good.
talk.
Team Fortress 2 is better. Even in the state that it is now, Team Fortress 2 is better.
So I can't really talk about the gameplay on how it's better or worse than the original Overwatch, since I haven't actually played the original Overwatch either, so...
Alright, and to finish up Sony's show, Until Dawn is getting ported. It's not even that old. Silent Hill 2 is being memed upon, and deservingly so. We don't really have anyone who knows all that much about Silent Hill, do we, Greg?
Played it.
Nope.
Yeah.
No.
I actually know at least a lot about the plots and stuff. It's a really good series. I'm ashamed that the graphics actually look better with the PS2 port. You know, the original PS2 version than the new port that they're doing.
It's not a port, it's a remake.
Remake, whatever you want to call it. Like, how did they screw the character models up this badly?
That one chick looks fat, and they're memeing on it.
I mean, it's not just her, it's Henry as well.
Yeah. Everyone looks awful. I don't know what they were thinking, but this is what happens when you give a Japanese IP to a bunch of Westerners with a staff of one-third women, which is even less women that was on the original team, percentage-wise, and a team that of mostly soy latte drinking, oat milk drinking, fucking hipster douchebag neckbeards.
Yeah.
So, Californians.
Actually, Polacks.
Seriously?
Yeah, Bloober team is based out of Poland.
How?
Because not
Sorry,
all
James.
of Poland is based, unfortunately. I mean, we got that new prime minister somehow.
Oh, that's just unfortunate.
Monster Hunter X Wilds.
I do want to apologize because 2 is the golden child of the series. I misspoke since The Room is my favorite.
You're tearing me apart, swordsman. So how was your sex life? What a funny story, Mark.
I did not do it. I did not hit her. I did not.
Oh, hi,
Oh,
Mark.
Hi, Mark.
Anyways, Silent Hill 2 plot is basically James is coming to the town to
Find his dead wife.
Yes, that's the non-spoilerly version, at least.
Let's not spoil because it's an actual good game that people, if they haven't played yet, how dare you? How dare you have not played this game? It's 20, 30 years old. Go and play it. I don't care how you play it. Emulate it if you want. I don't care. I don't give a shit. It's Konami.
Which is weird considering they're putting all their real effort into the Metal Gear Solid.
We'll get into that. We'll get into that.
Which brings us to Monster Hunter Wild X. I have to say this.
You can ignore the X. That was just a mark for swordsman.
This literally looks like Tremors mixed in with like Native American folklore. That's the best way I can describe it.
Well, the last game was Tremors mixed with Japanese folklore, so if you never played a Monster Hunters game before, you're in for a good time. Swords, what's your relationship with the Monster Hunters franchise?
I have played most of them, like all but the Switch game.
Do you hate them all?
No, I don't hate the series. I do. I am conflicted about the series due to its drop rate, which is very, very annoying. But that's more of an annoyance at best. The main takeaway that I had from the trailer is that it was more plot focused than normal.
Rise was a little plot focused too.
Because usually, you're basically, you go to the village that you've been called to, and the story is just kind of a window dressing. Yeah, you're hired there to take care of the village's top monster problem that's fighting in the village, but you basically get set up as just hunting monsters as you progress to more, you hunt the small stuff and then you get bigger and bigger and bigger. And you constantly hunt the same monster to get their art pieces so you can craft better weapons and armor. It's like this nice gameplay loop.
It's mindless fun. I still wish I could get into Monster Hunters. I'll give one of the games a try at some point.
It has some surprisingly fun crossovers.
Yeah, I know World had its fair share of crossovers. Had crossovers with Final Fantasy, had crossovers with Witcher,
Metal Gear.
But yeah, that was the last good game, and they also tried to cover up the fact that it's coming to PC, even though it's obvious it should be coming to PC. But that's what Sony does. They only announce a game coming to PC if it isn't any good. If it's something that's really good, they try to gaslight you into thinking it's exclusive. But that's just Sony. Also, Astrobot, and Astro Boy is the new Knack.
Knack?
Yes, Knack.
I've never seen Knack, but from this trailer, I thought it was fun and charming.
I think it looked
All
like...
I know about Knack is that apparently Donkey, video game Donkey, likes it. Or at least he memes that he enjoys it.
See, Knack was the supposed mascot game of the PS4, and it was... So anyway...
That just looks like Wall-E to me.
I mean, I've seen Astrobot far more than... I've never heard of Knack, but I've seen Astrobot plenty. I mean, he was all over the... record your video stuff, or take pictures.
Hot take, I miss Toro and
trophies.
Kuro.
Yeah.
And they didn't even come to America. But they was cats, therefore they're superior.
So,
unsurprisingly, the Sony State of Play got 30,000 dislikes. Moving on to the main event, the Summer Games Show, which opened up with Jeff Keighley talking about basically showing off the top 10 new games coming to Steam from January to May 2024, talking about how a lot of them were AA studios. Of those, there were two important ones. Pal World, which I would talk about if I've actually played it, but other than this... take that, Game Freak, you motherfuckers. And Helldivers 2, which
Democracy has landed.
these guys have played.
yes.
Oh yeah.
A lot.
They were playing it before we started this show. That's why we were late. They were busy playing.
We had to spread freedom and democracy.
Yeah.
This is extremely
Helldivers
dangerous
2 has
to our
become
democracy.
my part-time job.
In
Yes.
fact, I'm pretty sure we were... Which one were we fighting, Krieg? Was it the socialist bots or the fascist bugs? Which one was it?
Definitely the fascist bugs most recently. We're worried about maintaining control of X-45 so we can complete our major order and see what happens from there.
Yes.
There's actually a lot of news on the front of Helldivers. My understanding is it's one of the biggest games of the year so far. About 5 days ago, Forbes put out an article. Forbes, big magazine,
Oh, hang on,
saying
I
that
forgot some. Go ahead. I just forgot
Okay.
to do some.
saying that 90% of the players of Helldivers have left. And if you look at the Forbes article, it does show at the peak we had about 460,000 players at one time, and it has slowly trickled down with a little bump in April when a big patch was released. But what's important to understand is any game that is a game that continuously has live, there's going to be ups and downs, and one of the downs for Arrowhead, and by extension the player base, is in the summer. Apparently in Scandinavia, summer is a big time where everyone takes a break, and so it kind of makes sense that there's a little lull in gameplay at that point. And I think if we just have some patience and play when we want to play and have fun with it, everything's going to be fine. The devs have said multiple times that this is going to be a long time thing, so I don't think we have anything to worry about as long as we're just having fun with it.
It'd be lovely if they let those 160 plus countries back.
Indeed.
That's more of a Steam
a big
thing
deal.
at the moment than it is Sony, because Sony did not decide not to do the whole thing with having a PSN account for Helldivers 2. The fact that they tried to do that anyways, like, mind-boggling to me, but whatever. So yeah,
Sooner or later, that will get resolved.
yeah.
I feel like Sony's biding its time though, and they're not pushing Steam to reopen it because Sony's huge. They can obviously say, hey, you know what, we changed our minds, let them play, and talk to the powers that be over at Steam and make that happen. And I feel like if that hasn't happened, then that means Sony has not really backed off. They're just waiting and trying to sneak it in later.
Yeah, maybe.
They'll never learn. I
Yeah.
will say this though, despite all the recent controversies, we are at least making some progress because the CEO obviously stepped down. He has become the chief creative officer, and we're actually finally getting not only good content but active bug fixes, bug reports, which is night and day compared to the last guy they had in there who nearly ran the game into the ground. So yes, it's gonna take a little while, but at least they're listening, they're addressing our problems, and they're actually fixing legitimate issues in the game, which I'm sorry to say that is not the case with a lot of stuff nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
Yep,
I'm looking forward to the third faction that's going to show up. If you guys know anything about Helldivers lore, there's going to be another faction added to the game.
I'm
And,
excited for the game to go on sale, which it didn't during the summer game sale, which makes me salty.
Yeah, well, at some point. Also, I have to just say this about the new faction. My life for Aya.
Presumably they're going to be in the south. We've got the automatons on the west, the Tyranids on the east, and they'll go to the south. So it'll be a three-front war, and I think that's going to make things interesting because right now we've been really pushing everything back on all fronts.
I still find it funny that we managed to beat him in the first Galactic War. And it's like, given how much more advanced they were than Super Earth. But then I thought,
Here's the reason why. You see, the Eldar, the prototype, sorry, the Illuminate. The Illuminate's cast-based system basically boils down to two parts. You are either super smart, which means you have a great job, or you are dumb, and you're going to be sent to the front lines. The reason why we quote-unquote won the war is that we have more dumb people than they do, and we simply killed them all off.
so now that's my best explanation.
It's an advanced form of eugenics.
Yeah. Now the Illuminati are basically like, well, fuck. To be fair, I think what we also did was we forced them to sign a treaty and then BTFO'd them out of our galaxy. And then they're going to come back because you know they are.
Okay, I have a question for this series then.
What's up?
Since I don't play Helldivers, have you instead considered building giant pilot mechs for you to pilot?
We do have mechs. They're not giant, but we do have
like
mechs.
exosuits as opposed to like Keiju sized.
Oh, so that did not work.
We have the Patriot exosuit and the Emancipator exosuit. The Patriot has a Gatling gun and a missile pod, and the Emancipator has dual autocannons.
And the ability to make Arizonan edgelords really, really salty.
We shall emancipate the galaxy from both the socialists and the fascists and whatever the hell the Illumins are.
Well, by the sound of their name, they're the Illuminati.
That's actually not their given. That's actually not their name. That's their given name by Super Earth. They're actually called Squits, I believe.
I've seen enough hentai to know where this is going.
You can correct me on this, Tracer. I think you'd. They're called the Squits, right? The squid, whatever.
Squibs.
Squibs, yes. The one thing I really hope Helldivers 2 adds is vehicles, like other than the exosuits. Like,
Here's the thing, they are. Several months ago, it was leaked that they were adding the tank from the first game and basically a warthog.
the best
Kind of vehicle.
Hellhog.
Yeah, basically. It's actually on YouTube. You know, somebody actually managed to access it in the game as they were driving around, which
legally distinct warthog.
which is gonna be cool. But the issue, though, is that the maps were not really designed for vehicles in mind. They were designed for us to run everywhere.
Yeah.
So there's a very good likelihood that this stuff is gonna get stuck unless the plan is to modify maps so that they're easier to drive around with.
I think if they're smart, what they'll do is basically give us like a different map types that we will go into, like wilderness maps, like the ones we're currently doing, obviously jungle maps. But there's also going to be, I think they're eventually going to add urban maps, and maybe.
Oh, that'll be nice.
I don't know what else they could add.
I should make a quick note. The Bandai Namco presentation is going on right now. If anything happens with that, we'll save it for the end of the show.
Okay.
Yeah.
A Space Hulk like map would be awesome too.
Fighting in, yeah. I will say this: fighting in the jungle. I fought in the jungle in the game, and man, is that oppressive. Also, Helldivers can't swim.
For reasons.
Yeah.
They can't swim, so don't go into the water.
I don't know if any of you guys ever played the original Grand Theft Auto games, but you couldn't swim in those games either, which made it incredibly annoying when you had to do boating missions. Like, I don't think it was until San Andreas, I think, that you were actually allowed to swim. Otherwise, you would just drown.
Yeah. What else can we talk about with Helldivers?
Well, in addition to the leaks of the Hellhog and the tank, they've also shown some siege walls that we can put up that are mounted with grenade launchers and I think a stalwart, which is a light machine gun. But also leaked was, I believe, the next war bond, which is like how you can get new weapons and gear and stuff, is called Freedom Flame, and so it's going to be fire based.
Nice.
Which is going to be pretty cool, I think. Right now, the meta for Terminids, at least, is the Breaker Incendiary as well as the Flamethrower, which, incidentally, is great for cooking charger legs. But anyway, with the Freedom Flame, I'm really looking forward towards the Hand Flamer, hopefully, and maybe a lava biome like Mustafar with armor that hopefully interacts with the environment, so that you cook yourself a little bit, maybe not die without diving. And I feel like that was an opportunity that was lost with Polar Patriots, where you just slide around. And I mean, they have cleats on the skin armor, and they're just reskins. They don't actually interact or have anything to do with it other than being white because snow, for reasons. And so, like, they they should have been an ice-based weapon. They should have had the cleats on our boots, like, not make you slide around, just to make them a little distinct from the reskins. And I think with these fire-based armors, there should be some flame, at least a decrease in damage, kind of like our cutting edge ones have the electrical resistance ones.
Right.
I mean, the Ice Grenade alone that would have been able to freeze them for, 5 seconds or so would have been insanely useful.
Absolutely. Right now, we have HE grenades, we've got incendiary grenades, and the only one that's distinct is the stun grenade from Cutting Edge, and they just need to add something.
Yeah. Stun grenade is really good against the bots. Like, really good against them.
Yeah, it's almost necessary. I've seen some people run rigs without it, run kit without it, but it's a lifesaver for hitting them in the head as they're bobbing back and forth.
Yeah.
We spent more time on Helldivers 2 than Jeff Keighley did in the entire presentation.
Yeah, basically. I mean, it's the only thing worth talking about.
Fair enough. Because what else do we have to talk about? Lego Horizon Zero Dawn? Fuck that. Also, it's coming to Switch and Steam, so take that, Sony ponies.
What does that even have to do with Lego? Have they even released any Lego sets for it?
None that I'm aware of, but... I mean, there was no Lord of the Rings Lego until the game.
Actually, there was a bit before. They actually did release some sets during the movies. Reason 4 is pretty simple. They already had some medieval kits, so it's pretty easy to just convert that over.
Yeah. Are we finished talking about Helldivers 2?
Yeah. We need to move on.
So yeah, Lego Horizon Zero Dawn is not exclusive to the PlayStation. Even the game that they fucking AstroTurf into being their mascot game, the Lego spin-off is not exclusive. Then there was a Harry Potter game, a Quidditch game. Now, the original Quidditch game on GameCube was really, really fun, so if it's anything like that, we're probably in for a good time. But people are going to complain about it like they did the last Harry Potter game, which was actually really, really fun. But that's because you know how people are.
Yeah, Koopa, I'm going to pause you just for a second. It's kind of informing Kak of what we were doing, what have you. I asked him if he wanted to jump in. He basically said, nah, you don't need to. It's kind of improper, but if there is a next one, I am more than up to join up with you guys.
Okay.
Do we want to include him with this one, or not?
Does he have anything to... Ask him if he has anything to say about Space Marine 2, because we're saving that towards the end, because that's what I'm... There are 5 games coming out, one of which was shown... A few of which were shown in this showcase, but we're going to save those for the end, because they're the actual 5 games I'm really excited for, so we're going to show some trailers and footage and gameplay for those, specifically. So if there's anything he can contribute to Space Marine 2... which, considering how involved he is with Games Workshop, he might actually have something to say. But while you're doing that, there was also Black Myth Wukong, a Souls-like game starring the Monkey King, which... Okay, it's being developed in China, and I haven't seen any gameplay for it yet. But the character model for Sun Wukong looks really, really good. And more than that...
If you are going to make a game off of Dark Souls, more mythology-based, Monkey King makes perfect sense. There's a lot of stuff you can play with there.
Yeah. And even though it's Chinese developed, they told Sweet Baby to go fuck themselves. which is weird because why is China trying to extort China?
Well, hold on. Here's the thing. Which developer is developing this game, and where are they located? Long? Are they the cow?
I will look it up right now.
Because if it's one of those regions, it actually makes perfect sense. This would be
Black Myth Wukong is developed by Game Science Interactive, which is based out of Shenzhen, Guangdong.
That means nothing to me.
I'm looking at that. Aha! I knew it. Hong Kong. Guangdong province is the province that houses Hong Kong.
Oh, that makes sense.
So, I knew it. It's an active form of rebellion on their part, just like with Genshin Impact and those guys.
In that case, I might actually get this game because, I'm gonna put it straight here. I have never played a Souls-like game because, frankly, I have no interest. But this one actually has me interested because it's the Monkey King. How can you mess that up?
Yeah. The closest I ever got to a Souls game was Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor.
Well, what do you think of those?
They're great.
Your Harry Potter Quidditch Champions.
Oh yeah. You can ignore the stuff on there. We don't want to get our channel suspended. But
As for me,
I just talked about it, and yeah, if it's anything like the GameCube game, we're in for a good time. Swords?
Okay.
as for me, I actually played most of the Soul series.
What's your favorite?
Software.
Which is your favorite?
That's a toss-up between the original Dark Souls and Demon Souls. Demon Souls has an ending that's actually worth something, but Dark Souls kind of has the better world.
Have you played Bloodborne?
Yeah. Bloodborne is kind of... It takes Gothic horror and meshes it with the mythos.
Have you played Sekiro?
No, but I do own it.
Well, you should get around to playing it because I hear a lot of people say that one is their favorite. But yeah, that's Black Myth Wukong and Dark Souls. Next up, I'm not listing every game that was here because that would be insane. But in my notes, I have something about the Samsung Gaming Hub. Game streaming is cringe, and I made an entire video about it. If you go into my YouTube channel and into my video library, you will find a video specifically about cloud gaming. If you want my opinions on why game streaming is cringe, go and watch that video. We good?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah. I have nothing to contribute to this.
And as I mentioned, Space Marine 2, which had a trailer, we'll actually go over that trailer, but towards the end of the show when we have more to talk about. Next was a game that's...
Right now with it.
Pardon?
Oh, so are we just saving that for the end?
Yeah, we're saving it towards the end.
Okay.
Next was a game called Metaphor Refantasio. It was a game by Atlas, which Swords has more experience with Atlas than I do, so I will let him talk about it.
It's an interesting... well, I do not play a lot of Atlas games.
Name your favorite Persona character.
Makoto, specifically the Persona 3 protagonist.
You play a lot of Atlas games.
Anyways, it does look interesting. It kind of reminds me of White Knight Chronicles in aesthetic, but also the character design reminds me of Tokyo Mirage Sessions, which was that weird Fire Emblem crossover game.
God, I wish we got the actual version of that game and not the Nintendo of America version, the Treehouse version.
Well, here's the thing. we also kind of got a more, at least gameplay wise, proper crossover, as in Shin Megami Tensei, but as a Fire Emblem game with Devil Survivor.
Interesting. You gonna
Like-
elaborate on that, or are you just gonna leave us hanging?
Oh, okay. So even though it doesn't use Fire Emblem, its world or characters, it uses its gameplay and visual novel aspects to tell a really interesting twist on the Shin Megami Tensei alignment war, and it's possibly the best Shin Megami Tensei game to ever exist, even beating mainline.
Okay, that is interesting. I have never played Shin Megami Tensei, so I have nothing of value to add. So yeah, if you're into Atlas games, you got that. And next I have written down Street Fighter 6 DLC Pass 2, under which I've written, fuck Capcom, 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 fuck Capcom. Because they fucking blue-balled me for the last goddamn time. When I saw that it was fucking Terry fucking Bogard, my first thought wasn't, oh, this is just DLC. No. My first thought was, oh my god, the Mad Lads are actually doing it. We're getting Capcom versus SNK 3. Except it's not SNK versus Capcom 3. It's a fucking DLC pass for the worst goddamn Street Fighter game to ever exist. And not only that, it costs $50 fucking if you want all the characters and stuff in the pass. If you want Mai Shiranui uncensored to not create controversy, okay, pay the price of an actual full-on fucking game.
Now there's more important things to complain about that DLC pack. And Bison is alive again.
Yes, he's alive again.
He's been dead for multiple games. Why is he back?
Because Capcom really hates me.
I mean, do they have even a legitimate reason as to why he is back, or are they doing a Palpatine?
No,
somehow Man Bison has returned, yes.
At this point, Gil is supposed to have replaced him as the main villain.
The problem is Gil hasn't shown up yet.
Hey, I'll be right back. I gotta go
Roger that.
take care of something.
Like, I love Terry. Terry is my favorite character in all of SNK.
He has an unhealthy obsession with Terry Bogard to the point he ignores the hero stories of King of Fighters and only plays the Fatal Fury story.
No, I play K's story. I play, Party Warriors and other stories. It's just that I like Team Fatal Fury the best.
Swords does not know what jokes are.
Anyways, the thing is, this is Metro City, and like, you've set up a lot of Final Fight stuff in the previous Street Fighter, and Terry is basically Cody if he never was framed and went to prison.
Cody is Ken if he was the main character. I mean,
No, Ken.
Not Terry is Ken if he was the main character.
Terry and Ken are not really similar apart from red and blonde. I'm serious.
And being the more cool Shoto from their game.
I mean, Terry is not really a Shoto either. Yes, charge ass.
He defies Shoto, but that's because the creators of Fatal Fury were trying to do something different from Street Fighter because the creator of Fatal Fury created Street Fighter. What a twist.
The thing is, Terry's backstory lines up perfectly for a beat 'em up game. Right down to tossing geese out the window.
Toss you out a window.
Like, Terry and Cody are very, very similar characters.
And yet Cody is not in the game, and that's why you hate it.
I don't hate it for that reason. I'm just baffled by him not making an appearance, even though you're centering it on Metro City.
What do you think of the $60 turtle skins?
They're horrible. Like, you had a chance to do an injustice and have the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles at the actual characters.
What do you think of the $60 Your Forga skin?
Repeat said argument over and over. Like, instead of skin, just make the character instead.
At least the characters are in Injustice 2, so we always have that.
I'm back.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
So in conclusion, fuck Capcom. And, like, even though I haven't announced Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, we'll come back to that at the end, because again, that's one of the games. Next was a game that Tracer knows a little bit about, and it was a game that when I saw the trailer, I knew right away, Tracer might like this. Delta Force.
Indeed I do. This is Delta Force, Hawk Ops, Black Hawk Down. Now, is it exclusively about the events of Operation Gothic Serpent? No. This is actually covering multiple operations with the Delta Force. But obviously, Black Hawk Down is going to be a centerpiece. Is it a remake of the original Delta Force Black Hawk game? Sort of, but I would actually say it's more of an expansion. We're going to be moving beyond Mogadishu. We're going to be doing other operations with the Delta Force. The thing is, I'm really happy about this, aside from the fact that the original game was absolutely fun. Delta Force is one of the original counter-terrorist organizations, given, obviously, the period back in the late 70s, explicitly for that purpose. Despite this, every single shooter that has been going on for, I want to say, the last 20 years has almost been exclusively about Navy SEALs and the SAS. The last time we had a proper Delta Force inclusion was back in Modern Warfare 2 and 3, the originals. Those were in the late 2000s. But again, centerpiece of those games was Navy SEALs and the SAS. Nothing against both of those guys, but it's cool to finally see Delta get something, you know?
I'm just happy there's a first-person shooter game that doesn't suck and isn't Call of Duty or Battlefield.
Plus, this game's looking gorgeous with its art design, the graphics, just the general atmosphere of it.
The future is AA. Helldivers is proof.
Yeah, I mean, on top of that, it is kind of refreshing to see it step away from modern conflicts, in the sense of, you know, near future or it's the present day, and go back to just the generally awesome aesthetic of the 90s. I mean, when you look at a Delta operative, you know, obviously from movie Black Hawk Down or from any point from that period, those guys just had an excellent look to them. From the black armor and gear that they had, contrasting with the desert fatigues, everything about it just, it's like the perfect marriage of 80s aesthetic and sort of retro wave style with the very beginning of the tactical period of the early 2000s. The perfect marriage between the two, and created a synthesis that has not been replicated since.
So is this like the Persian Gulf War?
Yeah, basically, it's Persian Gulf, Bosnia, Operation Gothic and Serpent, Panama, that general time period.
Gotcha.
And these sort of bushfire wars were going around at the time.
I'm watching the trailer now. It looks pretty cool.
It is.
So Kat got back to me, says, thanks for the offer, but I don't think it'll be proper for me to come on. Major thing he'd say is, I am cautiously excited, do not pre-order.
Okie dokie. Don't pre-order Space Marine 2, folks.
I mean, that's just
Common sense.
common sense. Don't pre-order any games these days.
I'm forced to pre-order one game. We'll get to that in the future.
Yes, we are. So yeah, that's Delta Force. Fatal Fury, City of the Wolves, we'll talk about toward... Well, actually, let's talk about it now, because there isn't all that much to talk about. Garo Mark of the Wolves is getting a sequel after how many fucking years?
And it looks beautiful, and they are feeding us characters.
And the most important thing, Marco Rodriguez is called Marco Rodriguez and not Kusnud Butts.
It's funny that was ever a problem to begin with.
And T-Zock is T-Zock and not the king of dinosaurs.
Yeah, I'm still mad that he's going by the king of dinosaurs in 15.
I mean, to be fair, a dinosaur and a bird are not all that separate in the evolutionary chain.
Koopa, the dinosaur is a heel and a disgrace. T-Zock is a warrior of justice, and you will not mention that vile name, the king of dinosaurs, here ever again.
I like how you completely generalize an entire species based off of what I'm assuming is the appearance of the Velociraptor and the T-Rex from Jurassic Park.
Yeah, you racist. Hashtag not all dinosaurs. But yeah, there wasn't much to say about it. Like, I would have showed off the trailers and stuff, but like we've been going on long enough, so we'll just say this: SNK is superior to Capcom, and this continues to be proof of that. And yeah, it's one of the actual 5 games I'm excited for. A little bit after this was a game called Mecha Break, which was a game about. It was basically Armored Core, but with better mechas, and it looks like it's AA.
Sorry. It reminded me of this really fun Robotech game, but instead of being an actual, single-player game, it looks to be multiplayer arena-focused.
I can dig it. But yeah, go look up that trailer. It looks good. I am cautiously optimistic about it. I want to see more info first. And next, Blumhouse, the studio that did the FNAF movie, announced that they are doing games. All of them look like shit. And now I will let Swordsman bitch about the FNAF movie.
But I don't want to. I'm one of the few people that didn't like that movie.
Do it.
Like, yes, the prop design was really, really good. But
that feeling when you're BTFO'd by a Nick Cage movie.
Like, I wanted something that actually adapted the games properly. And they made the kids ridiculously stupid. To where they were fooled by merely drawing a picture, which is stupid as hell. Like, I have no desire or, like, passion for even hating on the movie or wanting to really acknowledge its existence. I just want to move on.
So you're basically treating it like a separate continuity.
Yeah.
Like
Gotcha.
how you treat the Star Wars sequels.
Yes.
Like how I treat everything from 2008 onwards.
Does that include Jedi Survivor?
Yes, it's technically part of its own separate continuity.
Okay, then.
Like, they couldn't even acknowledge that the main character and the villain was his father. Like, that's a major thing in the games. But they had them as separate families for no reason.
Hmm.
I don't understand why it's hard to keep things, as they should be in games and in movies.
I don't know the name William Afton, and I pray to God I never learn who he is. Into the void with you, Swordsman. Don't make me get the broom.
I'm not going into the void yet. We have Mighty Morphin Power Rangers to talk about.
Yeah, another 80s and 90s franchise like G.I. Joe, which also had a running gun arcade style announced. At least I hope it's run and gun because they use a lot more guns.
This looks like a callback to the original beat 'em up game on the Super NES.
And
but
they are
it looks-
not subtle about the fact that fucking Tommy Oliver, the Green Ranger, is going to be in it.
Yes,
I was
and
wondering.
the game looks really, really good. Like
Indeed.
it looks like it had far more passion put into it than even the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game, which is surprising to say, because that game was really, really good as well.
Yeah, Shredder's Revenge is the shit.
Like, you have not only just beat 'em up stages, but you have, of course, the mech stages, but you have these interesting stages where you're traveling somewhere with brilliant sprite work.
All in all, it's a really good AA styled arcade beat 'em up. Also, Kingdom Come Deliverance is getting a sequel, and that's all I have to say about it because I still have yet to get the first one, even though I've intended to, but like it's one of those things I keep putting off.
I definitely get it. It's janky fun.
Monster
It
Hunter.
says it's 80% off at Steam.
Well, I have money on hand, so I might have a look after we're done. Monster Hunter Stories is still a thing.
It's interesting considering from what I know of the first one, you could befriend
Gotta hunt them all.
and pet, basically turn into your pet multiple monsters, but this one seems to be overly focused on Rathlos.
Yeah, because Rathlos is cool. Despite what you
Zinogre
say.
is better.
You are the dumb. There's a reason Rathlos isn't Smash.
Zinogre straight up kills Rathlos.
You kill Rathalos. That's what you
I do.
And now you're gonna defend the Among Us TV show starring Patton Oswalt.
Of course, it looks interesting.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does.
We play Among
You
Us
just-
every week, and none of us are interested except for Swordsman.
I mean, it's how are you supposed to do a TV show about basically a game that is Mafia?
By having a shadowy guy that they report to.
Well, it's very easy to actually do an Among Us TV show, and it's very simple. Do the thing. That was the primary inspiration behind Among Us. It's obvious. All you have to do is just take that story and turn that into a TV show, which, frankly, isn't that difficult to do.
I hope if that's the case, I hope they base it off of the Thing comics with McCready basically hunting the goddamn thing.
I mean, that will probably be the case. It'll be probably a mix of that and Henry Stickmin humor.
No, that would be funny.
If you say this is the greatest plan one more goddamn time while you're trying to crash the airship, I am going to throw you out of the airship, Swordsman.
You just don't want to have fun, Koopa.
No, I just want to do my tasks and not die, you jerk.
You know, speaking of that, Henry Stickmin TV show would be interesting.
Oh, that would be really fun.
Especially if they do all the fails.
Anyway, do you want to talk about Sonic Shadow Generations now? Because there's not all that much to talk about, like with the... Because there's more to talk about with Sparking Zero and Space Marine than there is with Shadow and Marco the Wolves.
Yeah, though I am really excited for it, and
So am I.
it is the game I am forced to pre-order simply because I need Gerald's book. I need his journal for all that lore details.
What it basically is the Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury of Sonic. is that it's a port of a game that was really, really good. Sonic Generations is one of the best Sonic games. It's the best of the Boost era, of the Meta era.
It's the only good game of the Meta era. And no, I do not consider Sonic Unleashed part of the Meta era.
Oh. But it comes with additional content with Shadow the Hedgehog, and as such, it is now the Year of Shadow. I too remember the edgy 2003 days of post 9/11, where everything was all brown and dark and gray and eyeliner, machine guns, death, destruction. Everything was depressing. Sonic had a gun.
That was Shadow.
No, that was Shadow. The thing is, the game Shadow the Hedgehog isn't as bad as people make it out to be.
It's actually worse.
No, I actually really enjoy it. I want the Gun Commander to come back. He is a great supporting character for Shadow.
He did, in that one DS game that we can never talk about again because Ken Penders is a prick.
I'll say this about Shadow. The character Shadow hit his peak in
06 of all games.
06 of all
If
games.
you say I was gonna say if you say 06.
He was literally the best version of himself.
The only good story was the Shadow story.
Yeah.
We just lost someone. Who we lose?
I think we lost Krieg. Yeah, we lost Krieg.
Yeah, he might be back.
Yeah. But yeah, to be fair, Shadow did start off as a okay character in Adventures 2 and in Heroes, but Shadow the Hedgehog just was kind of like okay, this is a step in the wrong direction, and then 06 was a great version, great character.
Where's that damn
Shooting
Force Chaos Emerald?
Here's the
It's
thing.
like taking candy from a baby, which is okay with me.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. If you take Shadow the Hedgehog, canon version of what Shadow actually goes through, not the alternate what ifs that have no bearing on Shadow's life, and you see the progression, because you do have to do challenge mode. It's not just a useless bonus mode. There's a lot of story stuff there where that's all the setup for Shadow joining Gun is located. I kid you not.
Swords' prerequisite for a challenge mode being useful is it having story content.
Yes.
He does not know what fun is.
Alright. So that's that, for me at least.
Yeah.
But anyways, to just conclude, you have this very nice arc that is paid off wonderfully in 06.
Indeed it is.
06 is the conclusion and payoff.
Unfortunately, it's technically also erased from existence.
Yes.
Other than that.
Gotta love 06, everyone.
Yeah. Alright. Shall we move on to the next topic?
Next?
Yes, I actually have something to say about Dune Awakening.
Okay.
Look, as interesting as I think it could be in terms of the gameplay, where they might take the story and what have you, I have a fundamental problem with that. Why is it on Arrakis? Why is it only on Arrakis?
Because the spice must flow.
Yes.
Okay, here's my problem with it, though. The Dune universe, when you take it into its full encompassment, it's not just Arrakis. It's like setting a Star Wars game only on Tatooine.
Or setting a Star Wars show only on Tatooine. Hello, Boba Fett.
There's not enough to actually fill an entire game out of it. It'd be like having KOTOR 1 only be on Tatooine. That's the fundamental problem I have with this, is yes, we're getting a high quality game set in the Dune universe, but it's set on Arrakis. I'm sorry to tell you this, there's not much to do on Arrakis, other than...
Hide from the worms and meet with the tribes, the Fremen.
Yeah, basically. They could have very easily have expanded this to where you go to Gaiety Prime, you are on Caladan, you are on any number of planets that are introduced into the Dune novels, and you could, flesh them out, explore them, do some stories there. But no, we're stuck on Arrakis. What the hell are we supposed to do on Arrakis?
Of all the, how many galaxies does the Dune Imperium actually occupy? At least 2. I thought it was upwards of 12. Whatever. Of all the galaxies that the Dune Imperium occupies, we're still stuck on this damn desert planet.
Is it 2 questions? Is it one? Is it because it's simply due to that's the only thing to get adapted into video form? Therefore, they're relying heavily on adaptions to carry people's perception.
No, I'll just tell you this. It's because they're trying to ride the hype of Dune Part 2, which I gotta be honest, gang, I did not really enjoy. You messed with the original book way too much for my liking. I'm okay with you changing certain elements. Fine, that's what you gotta do with any adaptation, but you completely and utterly destroyed Paul Muad'Dib's entire love interest with Janie. I mean, she was his biggest supporter in the novel. And you basically took the character and made her into a typical Zendaya character.
I need to get into.
Funny
the
enough,
Dune
she's played by
series.
Zendaya.
You had Christopher Walken in there as the Emperor, and he barely does anything. He actually does far less than he did in the actual novel or any of the other previous adaptations. What? Christopher Walken, for crying out loud! We expected Christopher Walken to act like Christopher Walken.
Yeah, imagine getting Christopher Walken and having him do nothing.
I mean, he has like, what, 3, 4 scenes in total? That's about it?
Even A View to a Kill, which is one of the worst Bond movies, had Walken do far more than that.
You had the Baron not be killed by Paul's sister, who's not even born yet, which completely screws with the plot of the second book, which, okay, to be fair, I'm not a fan of any of the books after number 1, but how are you supposed to do the plot of Children of Dune if you don't have the critical plot thread attached to it? To give you guys some context, the reason why having the sister of Paul kill Baron Vladimir Harkonnen is important here is because Vladimir Harkonnen, his soul possesses her in the second book, and that's the reason she goes insane. You don't have that. You have Paul kill him instead. So, I have no idea where the hell they're supposed to take this story. Additionally, at the end of the first novel, Paul, kills Fade, he makes the Emperor submit, he marries his daughter, he now becomes the Emperor. All of the other houses submitted to him accordingly because he controlled the spice. And if he really wanted to, he could destroy spice production and completely cripple the Empire. That's not what happens here. Instead, the houses, for some reason, do not recognize his legitimacy as the Emperor, even though what he did is perfectly legitimate, and decide to declare war on him. Do you not understand? This man controls, effectively, it's like a guy controlling all oil production on the planet, and he says, I have nuclear bombs attached to them. If you mess with me, I'm going to detonate them.
Let's not give the Saudis ideas, please.
To bring you back to the game, one line that weirded me out, though, could you explain it, is as he's talking about the bad future, he said that his parents made it where he was born as a girl instead to get the daughter that they wanted originally. How? You can't just decide your kid's gender. I know this is a fantasy universe, but still, that sounds just weird to me.
Anyway, that's just my general thought on the game. It looks interesting. I'm very concerned about it being set on only one planet.
Yeah, I don't know what that is about, Swords. So
Yeah, it just sounded like a really random line.
Well, it's a world where the main character was born as a woman, and therefore everything is worse. Thus proving that women make everything worse.
Yes.
Good night. Simp. Swords is a simp.
Here, I have this baseball bat with your name on it, Koopa.
Simp. Anyway,
Alright.
after that, Pal World got an update, and there's a game called Phantom Blade Zero, which, if I remember, is just a Souls-like, but it's a fast Souls-like. So, what I mean by fast Souls-like is I don't mean it's a character action game like Ninja Gaiden or Devil May Cry. I mean it's a Souls-like, but it goes pretty fucking fast for a Souls-like. And it looked pretty interesting.
More Sekiro. It's more Sekiro-like.
Yeah, Sekiro. So, for Summer Games Fest, it wasn't that bad. And the games that did stand out, or the games I'll talk about later, those games were great. Just everything else was kind of garbage. And then Xbox did a showcase, and they opened with a very welcome surprise. Doom: The Dark Ages. Tracer, would you like to talk about Doom?
Okay, this is going to sound like a bit of a surprise to you, but I am cautiously optimistic about this game. I'll explain why. That's what I do is pros and cons. One, I like the medieval aesthetic. It's very interesting. It actually feels a lot like Blood and Magic, War of the Triads. You know, very early John Romero era first-person shooters. This is like a nice blend of the typical Doom formula with magic elements. You know, you got a freaking machine gun that basically grounds down skulls and turns that into ammo. It's great. You get the right dragons, that sort of thing. Assuming this is going to be kind of the story of the betrayal of the Sentinels that we were alluded to in the mainline Doom games. Now for the cons. All the drama that's been going on with id Software, particularly with Mick Gordon basically leaving the project because of how he was treated, this potentially trickling down to other aspects of the game. I don't know, I'm worried. I'm a little bit worried for the health of the company. Additionally, I'm not the biggest fan of the DLC that came out for Doom Eternal. Yeah, I mean, it's cool. You ultimately got to kill Satan in that game, who turned out to be you. I'm still trying to wrap my head around that. But at the same time, they killed off the Doomslayer. You know, when in reality, they could have very easily have done the classical ending, which is he gets to be reunited with Daisy, his bunny. But they didn't. They instead locked him away in a sarcophagus. It's again, I don't know. It's got me a little bit worried for the production of the game, a little bit worried about the story. But hey, Chainsaw Shield goes hard, am I right?
Indeed it does. Rip and tear until it is done. Of course, it can't all be good, because after that was Dragon Age: The Veilguard. Now, if you're a sane person, you've hated Dragon Age since Inquisition. Swordsman is not a sane person.
What are you talking about? Inquisition was good.
Sure it was, Swords. I'm sure you believe that. Now tell us where it is now.
So, already there was, like, warning signs when the name change was changed from, before the trailer dropped, it was changed from Dreadwolf to Vilgard, and the guy, the whole original build was canceled simply because there was no room for live service elements. Directly stated by EA.
Gotta love them. Continue.
So we get the trailer itself, and you notice that the character designs are wrong outright. And this the trailer looks and feels nothing like a Dragon Age game. You get to the gameplay trailer, and it's no longer an RPG in any sense of the full word. The dialogue wheel doesn't even halfway resemble what you're talking. Like, it makes Fallout 4's dialogue wheel look like you're actually being fairly competent in what you're about to say. Like, it's basically a entirely different series at this point. Everything that made Dragon Age is gone. Not
So-
even the demons look the same.
Swords. It always has been. Pulled gun. But yeah, that's all. That's all we got to say about that.
Stream's been on for about an hour and a half now, so let's speed fire through the rest of these.
Right. Starfield is getting an expansion. Heel vs. Babyface on Suicide Watch. Metal Gear Delta we'll talk about a little bit later. Age of Mythology is getting a remake. Perfect Dark looks Mansion. Fable looks Mansion. Microsoft Flight
Fable's
Simulator
horrible.
looks better than ever. So let's talk about Life is Strange because you're the only one who cares.
This came out of left field. It's very weird that despite the Chloe being the fan base's rallying cry, even though she's a horrible character, and I was the one that actually had saved the town and had her date the guy instead, that Chloe in the sequel is nowhere to be seen, and Max is all alone. So, don't know what's up with that. All the sequels were crap. Like, the only good one was was the first one. So, I'm very confused by this sequel. Because it doesn't really meet up with the expectations of the rabid Chloe fan base, nor does it really match up with what you would expect with what the studio has been doing for the longest time. So I honestly don't know what to think.
Fair enough. I don't care about the series, so yeah.
And then there was the Indiana Jones game.
Cho. Like, how many times do we have to depict the Nazis as incompetent, goofy buffoons? Especially considering that this is the Waffen SS. These are fanatics. Well-trained fanatics at that. I get that we have to make fun of the Americana because he is stupid. Yes, because he is not a genetic great like us. It's like, that's all that. Why? Okay, I need to talk. I'm a bit of a gun nut, and something that really just bugs me. They went to the effort of properly modeling the correct Gewehr models. They have Bergmans, which are submachine guns that they had prior to incorporating the MP38s and MP40s in large mass productions. And for some reason, one of them has an American trench gun. Not just any trench gun, but a World War II era trench gun when this is supposed to be set. Actually, when is this supposed to be set? Is this during the war or prior to the war? I thought it was prior to the war.
Might be during the war.
Let me actually look it up real quick. I find it funny that I type in Indiana Jones and the game doesn't even come up as a search option.
Type the right circle.
There we go. $1937. Which, when you consider that a Japanese hero pops in there, I guess he's gonna be going to China and getting involved in the mainland invasion there, which I don't have a great deal of confidence they're actually gonna do through historical representation. Why? Because this game is made by Machine Games, the same people who screwed up the Wolfenstein series. Which actually completely explains why the Nazis are depicted as goofballs. Ever since the second game, New Colossus, they've just been hell-bent on this hate the fascist, punch the fascist, fascists are stupid narrative, which, don't get me wrong, fascists are evil, and they need to be ultimately put down, but the problem is that this is just done as a way to paint the political rivals of the extreme left that exist nowadays. Anyone who is even right, even slightly, of their ideology, is given the broad paintbrush stroke of being a fascist. And therefore, these games became the propaganda of saying, oh, all these people are fascists and they're evil, and you must go to extreme measures to stop them, including torturing and mutilating them. I hate to say it, I blame Quentin Tarantino for this. Ever since Inglourious Bastards, I'd say it kind of started this trend of, oh, it's okay to be an inhuman bastard because they're Nazis, and you can do whatever you want to Nazis.
I just thought it looked stupid.
I know. I'm just thinking too deeply about this, but it doesn't matter. I have no confidence in this game. I think they are going to fundamentally screw it up. Additionally, why is it a first-person shooter? You're playing as Indiana Jones. Shouldn't you be able to see him in third person? You know, because you're playing as Indiana Jones?
It just works. But speaking of just working, good news is Stalker 2 exists.
Let's find out if it's going to be as buggy as the first one.
Slava Ukraini. But it looks fucking good, and I will say that much. I have not played Stalker 1, but I hear good things about it, and I intend to play it. And finally, Gears of War E-Day. Squasher.
The game actually kind of interests me because, well, it's literally a game set during the start of the war. Why not? You know.
Mm-hmm.
And I like Gears of War as a franchise. I actually played through the games with my brothers a lot. So yeah, up to 3. I haven't played 4 beyond the Horde mode. So yeah. Plus, the locusts actually look like a threat in this game.
On top of this, I'm actually a little bit curious. When you count in the Gears of War lore, right before E-Day happened, a large-scale world war had just been concluded between the Cogs and their rivals. Now, unfortunately, because of Karen Travis and her involvement with the series, the Cogs are actually supposed to be socialists. They're called socialists. They don't act like socialists. This is due to her straight up saying their philosophy is based off of socialism, even though when you look into its tenets, it's not.
To be fair, she also added rape farms for the Cogs.
Yep, for reasons.
Which is something that socialism actually has.
Yes, it does. Now, as for the actual lore of this conflict prior to all this such jazz, basically it's equivalent of, America, NATO versus the Soviet. The Soviets had just been beaten. It was a long, drawn-out, grueling conflict that, for the most part, left everybody tired, mostly disgruntled. The economy was kind of in the toilet. And then freaking E-Day happens, and the locusts come up through the ground and start ravaging, destroying everything. What I'm curious about, are we going to see the tail end of that conflict? You know, are we going to be fighting other humans before we start fighting locusts? Or are we just jumping straight into the locusts?
That would be interesting. I will say this about the cogs. I think at the very least you could make the argument that they're collectivists, but that doesn't necessarily make them socialist.
No, at the end of the day, what the cogs are is... What the hell is it called? Does anyone remember that Shakespeare play? It was about a Roman general, and Rome betrays him, and...
The tragedy of Julius Caesar?
Not that one. He joins, I think, it's the Visigoths, or... No, it was, I think it was the Lombards. This is like early days of the Roman Republic. Anyone know what it is?
No.
I think was it Cornelius?
Shakespeare, you
Yes.
said?
Yes. He did a lot on Rome. It's just we only ever heard about Cleopatra, Mark Antony, and the tragedy of Julius Caesar.
He did Antony and Cleopatra, Coriolanus.
That's it.
Yeah.
The reason I bring that one up is because there's an actually really well-made movie set in the modern day. Basically, they took the original Roman story and they just literally planted it in the modern day. It had Ralph Fiennes, it had Gerard Butler. That's what this feels like. The comics are essentially Marcus Aurelius' Rome transplanted into, I guess you could say, I don't know, 22nd century, 21st century. I don't know where you would put the technological level of this planet. But that's really what you're kind of looking at. It's a modern retelling of the Northern Italians, the Lombards, and the rest of those guys fighting the early Roman Republic. Unfortunately, I don't think Karen Travis understands history.
Then again, most people don't understand political theory beyond 5 words these days. To be fair, I don't either, but at least I can acknowledge that not all authoritarian regimes are things that the Italians did during 2 decades in the in the 20th century.
The best way I can describe it is this. Socialism is collectivist, not all collectivists are socialists. Fascists are authoritarian, but not all authoritarians are fascists.
Yes.
Yes.
Technically speaking, Nazism is not fascism either. It's slightly
National
different.
Socialism, it's in the
Yeah.
freaking name.
Yep.
But yeah, that was the Xbox show. Ubisoft did one, and it's the most hated one. We're only going to talk about 2 things, and only briefly. For Honor has a new DLC update.
Marmarusa actually does look interesting, even though I don't play the samurai.
I have to be honest, I jumped off of For Honor a long time ago because ever since the new updates came to the game, it negatively affected the gameplay balance. Every time a new character is thrown in, his OP is held, have to spend about 2 weeks to fix it. Various different types of characters at this point are damn near impossible to fight.
There's a pirate with a gun.
I'm not a super competitive player. I admit I'm not the most skilled player out there, but the thing is, this game used to be kind of accessible to everybody. Everybody could kind of jump on and have fun with it. Nowadays, forget about it. It's gone the route of, we want it to be Counter-Strike. We want it to be super competitive. We want it to be super depth. But at the end of the day, all it does is ensure that a small cadre of players are able to cheese everybody else and suck the fun out of the game. On top of this, after, I'm going to say, the last ruling hero. Not the pirate one, but the pyromancer dude. Basically the the Mantis Minister. The game has been basically taken over by a bunch of colored hair Berkeley types that have been progressively pushing the game into something of a leftist agenda. Case in point, take the Arabic character. This particular character is described to have come from a culture that is peaceful and is about scientific advancement, and then the Harkos, evil crusaders, rolled in and plundered the place and killed everybody, and now this female Arabic assassin type character has come back for revenge.
Can we ask her opinions of the Jews? I mean, we can now because apparently it is now part of the message to hate the Jews, as long as you paint it in being against Zionism.
Yeah, the thing is, even before that, if you were a part of the Knights, you know, you played the Knight faction, you were basically the unfavorite of the three.
Mm-hmm. Even though we have the best style, we have the best memes, we have absolutely the best music. And at the end of the day, despite the game hating us, we are the ones that they pander to the most. We got the most amount of new characters. We tend to get the most amount of events. We tend to get the best skins. The ones who lose out the most are the Vikings, because they still treat them like trash elbows. Give them armor, for God's sake. Give them mail. Give them something. I mean, it's insane to me that the original Viking designs that we got in the trailer all the way back in 2015 has better armored dudes than the hobos we got nowadays. These don't look like the types I have to throw out of the store every given day. Either way, not excited for it at all. For Honor at this point has lost any and all luster it used to have, and I'm not the only one saying that.
Yeah.
And then there's Assassin's Creed Shadows. We talked about this on the stream before, Tracer, and that's when we only knew it as Code Red. Apparently it's Code Black.
Look, here's the thing. There's absolutely nothing wrong with
making a game, but Yasuke.
Yasuke. Nothing wrong with picking Yasuke. Yes, he existed. Yes, he was a samurai.
No, he wasn't. He was a retainer. Wikipedia literally changed the history to say that he was a samurai, when literally before the game was announced, it was listed that he was a retainer that may or may not have actually existed.
Hold on. The thing is, you have to remember, yes, he was a retainer, but after his lord died, he was promoted into a samurai. He did fight. He was an actual warrior. The problem with this is it's just a reflection of how insane the politics have gone. That instead of acknowledging, yeah, this guy existed, yeah, he did all these things, yes, he is a fascinating character, everybody jumps the guns like, oh no, they're depicting a black guy as a samurai, they're changing history. No, for once they are embracing history, and that's cool. But the problem is that the story doesn't look interesting. And despite the fact that Yuzuki ultimately is a fascinating character, I have the feeling that they are going to waste him. It already seems like they're not even truly following his story.
All they know about him is that he's black, and that is apparently a good thing in their eyes.
That's about it.
Imagine imagine this.
That existed in Japan against this guy.
Imagine this. The only thing that's interesting about you in their eyes is your skin color. How pathetic is that?
So, guys, you're missing the most fascinating thing to come out.
Yeah?
So, while I was watching the trailer, I actually looked down to the comments section. And there were tons and tons of Japanese comments.
Very angry Japanese comments.
Yes. Apparently they used Chinese buildings, which got someone so mad over.
Oh, hang on. Before that, you want to know what the soundtrack is for the black protagonist?
Rap.
It's rap.
Yep.
They had a black protagonist before in Freedom Cry, and they didn't do this shit. This is just pandering. This is black exploitation.
Yep.
This is racism disguised as anti-racism, is what it is.
Yeah, basically. This is the thing that infuriates me about people. Is they want to talk about this guy and they want to basically deny he exists, but they don't talk about these other things. They don't talk about the music. They don't talk about the anachronisms. They don't talk about the fact that basically the culture is not being accurately depicted. And like you said, the buildings themselves are not even Japanese. It's like, guys, you have to go deeper than the surface level here, but they don't want to because they're lazy.
And shall we mention that Ubisoft have their meetings in a strip club? Just throwing that out there. They literally, there's a huge sexual harassment thing with female interns. They have their board meetings at a strip club, and like, it's not even like real as cringe as real progressivism is. It's not even real progressivism. It's just fake. The whole thing's fake.
Because at the end of the day, these people are hollow. They have no values. And
Or
all
souls.
they want to do is pander so that they continue to get their federal grants.
Yeah, I gotta love the French. Too bad that gravy train is coming to an end soon for them.
It's not just even the French, my friend. It's just the Belt and Road expanded. There's documented proof that a number of these companies are taking bribes directly from Chinese-owned companies, which means they're taking bribes directly from the CCP.
Of course they are. But yeah, Ubisoft sucks, and the final show, but before the show that's going on today, was the Nintendo Direct. So do you want to say something important, or?
I was just going to move us to the Nintendo Direct.
Okay. So there's a new... To get through it quickly, so we can talk about the really, really, really important stuff. Mario and Luigi is back against all odds.
The graphics look great.
Among Us got an update, which we've played and we love.
It's very fun.
Donkey Kong Country Returns is just being ported to the Switch. Excuse me.
I wish they finished the Returns trilogy.
I wish King K. Rool would come back.
It needs a third game.
I wish the Annabelle buddies actually came back in full force.
Dragon Quest is getting a pixel remaster with 3 and then 1 and 2. And it looks spectacular.
I'm really excited.
So am I.
I'm really excited.
So am I. I hope they do this for 4, 5, and 6 as well. And we also get parts of 7 and 8. And they did do it again for 9. 10 was an MMO.
Yeah. Can't really do anything with 10.
And if the Switch 2 is backwards compatible, then you can have the whole Dragon Quest series on the Switch. Because then you also have 11, which was on the Switch. Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon is currently out. It's good. It's not as good as the first one, but it is good. 3 is the best one. And then there's Metal Slug.
It's not a return to the standard gameplay I would prefer, but I am excited that Trevor Spacey and the other Metal Slug 4 characters are back. I actually really like Metal Slug 4. Like some people.
Then they announced Darkest Dungeon 2 is coming to Switch. I still gotta play the first one. I still gotta get the first one.
First one is far better than the sequel. The sequel is kind of a letdown.
But what was really interesting was what came out on Switch Online. Turok Dinosaur Hunter, Perfect Dark, and Metroid Zero Mission.
And The Legend of Zelda 4 Swords.
Oh yeah, 4 Swords. But those 3 games, holy crap. Like, first off, we're getting more rare games with Perfect Dark. Second off, we're getting rated M games that were on the N64, so much so that they had to make a 17+ version. Which means it's probably not just going to be those 2 games. Maybe we're going to see Perfect Dark 2 and Turok 2. Was Turok 2 on the N64?
I wouldn't know.
But, after that...
A miracle occurred.
Marvel vs. Capcom is alive, and Swordsman, I want you to give a groveling apology to the X-Men franchise, because this game is definitive proof that it all started with X-Men Children of the Atom. Therefore, Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite is not Marvel vs. Capcom. It is Marvel Cinematic Universe vs. Capcom. And you will refer to it as such. You will refer to it as such as long as this collection has Children of the Atom, X-Men vs. Street Fighter, and it basically is definitive proof that this entire series started with the X-Men.
Sorry, but you're never gonna get that.
You will bow down before your betters, and admit that.
Nope. The only person I will ever bow down to is the Lord our God.
And even he knows that X-Men Children of the Atom was the first in this series.
I'm not denying that it's the first in the series. The thing is, I simply do not see the X-Men as a deal breaker. Like, for me, it was Venom and Mega Man being the deal breaker.
Because, of course, you're weird about this, as you're weird about everything. But, surprisingly, what else is on this collection? The Punisher beat 'em up, which has a very, very, very extensive mod to it. Swords, do you know any news about that mod being added to this collection? Are they going to even make the attempt?
I don't think so.
But they should.
Though, aside from that mod, there's also a really good beat 'em up fan game that remade the Punisher remake as well, called Marvel Infinity War by Vitor, that Matt McMuscles played as well on his channel. It's really, really good, and just released his newest version of that fan game. If you're wanting to get a taste of the Punisher arcade game before it actually gets re-released in full.
Alright, what's next on the agenda?
Next, we have a Zelda game, starring Zelda. Funnily enough, it's kind of more puzzle-oriented than it is action-oriented, which is fitting enough. Zelda is the bearer of the Triforce of Wisdom, so it kind of just makes sense. There was a sort of AstroTurf movement to say that gamers hate this game, even though gamers by and large love this game so far.
Yeah, the only complaint I've ever seen is, why are we using the Link's Awakening graphics? That's the only complaint I've seen.
My biggest complaint is, where's the Wand of Gamelon?
That's not a true Legend of Zelda game.
But they're remaking it.
Fans are remaking it. Key difference.
Anyway, Stray is coming to the Switch. Ace Attorney's Investigations, including the unreleased in the West second game, is coming on all platforms. They instead of using the fan translation, which they could have just paid for and been done with it, they've changed all of the names in the second game, which annoys me to no hell. But I'm gonna get it on Steam anyway, and someone's probably gonna mod the original fan patch back in. And finally, something we never expected. The floating number 4 in space is real. Metroid Prime 4 is coming next year.
About time.
We actually seen in-game footage. We've seen cinematic. We've seen Samus. We don't know what it's about, but we got a vague idea.
So, people that do memes, this is where you have Nintendo on a stage, they count to 4, and look directly at Gabe Newell, and go, "Where's your excuse?" and drop the mic.
And that's why the Nintendo Showcase is once again the best. There was also some for Metal Gear Solid Delta. Now, I don't know if we want to keep on too long and just show some Metal Gear Solid stuff. Should we?
Nah, let's just keep it going.
Okay, so Metal Gear Solid Delta is one of the 5 games I'm excited for, and I actually became excited for it during this showcase because the Gamesfest trailer looked really fucking good.
Yep, it
There's-
does. Like, the atmospheric lighting, and it really does feel like you're in a jungle.
Mm-hmm.
It genuinely looks good.
They're using the
What
original
my
voice
question
acting.
is this. Metal Gear 3, Solid 3 was ultimately made, let's see, number 3 in the series. It built off of what had been explored, effectively in the present day, and then they went back in time. And obviously from that point forward, you had Metal Gear Solid 4, which finished the story in the present day, mixed results, and then you had the PSP game, then you had 5 ultimately, which in many ways retconned a lot of elements from Metal Gear Solid 3 in order to fit it into the narrative that had been built up before. Because we're starting here with the remake, at the very beginning chronologically speaking, does that mean that from this point forward, they're going to rebuild the storyline based off of what we were shown in Metal Gear Solid 3 rather than retconning it?
Quite possibly.
Like, to put it in perspective, all the characters that you see in this game, including your allies, become evil. They become the Patriots. Okay, technically, philosophers, I guess you could say, but they're the Patriots.
Hey, don't besmirch the good name of Revolver Ocelot like that.
Hey, Revolver Ocelot's fine. He was a villain from the get-go. But everybody else, where it wouldn't make sense for them to be bad guys, like Major Zero, for example, or what's his name? He's the guy. He's your armory type guy.
Signet.
Signet is the dude who tortured Gray Fox, apparently. Why?
No, it wasn't Signet that did that. It was Paramedic.
Was it?
Yeah. Like, Signet was instead responsible for being on the Metal Gear base and helping to build Rex.
Oh, that's right, yeah. Oh, that's
Like-
right, yeah. He gets tortured to death by Revolver Ocelot in the first game.
Yeah, comparably, Signet is actually pretty. I hesitate to say innocent, but he out of the Patriots, he's like the least has the less blood on his
At least
head.
blood on his hands.
Yeah,
And that is the problem. In order to build up the Patriots, who had been an absolute mystery beforehand, and basically shoehorn in fan favorite characters from Metal Gear Solid 3, making them evil, they had to make them evil. They had to completely alter a lot of their personality to do it. Which again, I think is the result of the storytelling that we got in Metal Gear Solid 4, which its goal was take the story that had been given to us in Guns of the Patriots, or sorry, not Guns of the Patriots, what's the second game called again? I'm getting the titles confused here.
Sons of Liberty.
Thank you. They've been built up in Sons of Liberty, and then marry that to what we saw in number 3. The problem, though, it didn't know when it wanted to not be a homage to 3 and not screw up the plot that had been set up in number 2.
Like
Not saying 4 was bad, I'm saying 4 is a giant mixed bag of black cats.
Like, the thing is, sorry, I want to get this point in. Like, the general idea, when you look at most of the members, it mostly works because instead of relying on the members to be mostly evil, because this is mostly Zero's plot, because the main bad guys are still the AI. They become self-aware and they basically take over the world. Why he goes?
Elon Musk was right.
Like, most of this still work. Most of this works because Signet, like I said, doesn't really do a lot of villainous actions. Like, you could argue, like, building Metal Gear Rex was stupid of him, but he doesn't really do anything, too out of character. What makes it feel like a cop-out isn't Zero, it isn't Signet. It's Paramedic. Because Dr. Clark, before him, was directly referred to as Mel. And Paramedic is very caring in Metal Gear Solid 3. While Dr. Clark is very sadistic. These two characters just don't really line up properly. And you never get the reason for, character development to transition, into the sadistic personality she has later in her life.
Which brings me to, if this is the plan of theirs and they're starting chronologically speaking, we're going to move forward, this could mean that they might actually adapt the original Metal Gear games.
Which is something me and KMDP have been talking about for a long ass time.
Which would genuinely be awesome to see. Those had actually really good stories attached to them.
Make the ending of Metal Gear 1 be that one webcomic.
Yeah, basically.
Also make
Ghost. They'll tackle Phantom Pain at this point, or they'll do something else with it.
Finish Phantom Pain!
It'll be interesting to see at the very least.
Also, hot take. This is going to be very controversial.
We already know you like Raiden better than Snake.
Make Ghost Babel canon. Because
I think Swords is the imposter. Let's vote him out.
Hear me out. Because it ties in perfectly to the VR stuff that Jack and David talk about in Metal Gear Solid 2.
I've never actually played Ghost Babel, so I had to actually go look up what it was.
Okay, the twist at the end is that the game you just played was a simulation, and you didn't really play as Snake. You played as a guy named Jack, and that's why it's perfect.
Where you're going with this. So you're saying that Ghost Babel is basically the VR training Raiden got before the events of the Big Show?
Yes.
Yeah, well, I say Twin Snakes is the training that Raiden got before Big Shell.
One, that doesn't actually mess up with 4, and 2, you just hate fun.
You hate fun.
Either way, it looks good. The graphics look great. I know people are complaining for some reason about the boss's face. Like, guys, it looks like the boss.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's basically culture war grifters being culture war grifters. The real test is always going to be Ava, and that's what the real fans know. These guys are just fucking tourists who just glom themselves up onto every series and say, oh, this series is woke and bad and cringe and blah, 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 blah.
Who cares?
Yeah, who cares? Fuck them. Fuck them and their money-grubbing asses.
So, by the way, looks good. What's next on the list?
Miguel pointed out that isn't there?
Yeah, but all that got really announced was a Dead Rising remaster. Which, do any of us care?
I care. Okay, I do care about it coming back. I do like the first game, simply for the novelty of playing
with a Mega Buster.
Yeah, the thing is, you can actually. It's really hard to unlock, but you can basically play it straight up, full on as Mega Man, fighting zombies, and that's just fun. Well, and the thing is, if you put in the work into it, it just becomes the sandbox where you can just fight zombies all day and blow off steam. It's just that you have to work for it, to get all the stuff to make the game fun like that.
Watch they put all that fun stuff behind a paywall instead.
I actually would prefer that.
You do
honest.
not give Capcom any ideas, mister.
You want to know why?
Swords is sus. He's the imposter. Get him. I vote him out.
Hear me out. Hear me out. In the original game, to unlock the Mega Man stuff, you had to spend, like, hours of your life.
Oh no! How?
Tedious, which is just tedious stuff, driving up and down a tunnel just to grind zombie kills.
Oh no! I have to play a video game. How awful!
The thing is, Koopa, is Dead Rising 1 isn't actually that fun at the beginning. It's not really that great of a game.
That sounds like a you problem. Then again, I never played Dead Rising, so
It is a you problem.
Dead Rising 2 is far better.
If
'Cause
that isn't the hottest hot take of the century.
that's where they caught on to what makes the game fun.
But yeah, there's still 2 more games we gotta talk about. Since we did talk about Metal Gear a bit, let's do next Space Marine 2. We tried to get Keck on, and unfortunately he did not want to. So we'll talk about it without him. Space Marine 2, Captain Titus is back, and this time we're fighting the Nids.
well now he's a lieutenant.
Lieutenant Titus.
Yeah, he got demoted.
Alright, so before we talk about this game, let's talk about what the planned sequel was to Space Marine way back when THK was still a thing. Technically referred to as Titus Unleashed, this was the project name. The idea was that you, as Captain Titus, had been abducted by the Inquisition. And you would be assaulted by the forces of chaos, you would ultimately escape, and then you would go on to create your own Space Marine chapter. Now, who would make up this chapter? No one knows. But going off the title, I think it's very clear they wanted to go towards more of a Force Unleashed type of story. Sounds admittedly awesome, but unfortunately, THQ was shuttered and they ultimately fell apart. Brings us to Space Marine 2. Space Marine 2's campaign takes place 100 years after the events of the first game. We don't know entirely what happened to Titus. All we know is he got demoted.
And turned into a Primaris.
And he was made into a Primaris. There's a great deal of suspicion about the character. Not a lot of people trust him. Not everybody entirely knows what happened on Gaia. So...
Thanks, Leandros.
Yeah. So, whether or not this game is following up on the story of Space Marine 2 or Space Marine 1 or not is kind of unclear. It does feel like they want to make the game enough of a distinct sequel that you can just jump into it without having to play game number 1, which is good. And not, I guess it depends on how they...
What if they are treating the unreleased Titus Unleashed, and his chapter didn't go so well, which is why he got dragged back to the Ultramarines and demoted?
Maybe. Personally,
Okay.
I have a sneaking suspicion that he went on a penitent crusade and he might have been Black Ops for the Inquisition, if you know what I mean.
So, probably
Watch.
dragged into the Death Watch.
Death Watch, possibly a Black Shield.
Black Shield. Okay, so my thoughts on the original idea for the sequel is that would have been so difficult to pull off because that is not how chapters are made.
Yeah, I mean, how is one dude, as badass as Titus is, how is he supposed to make an entire chapter around himself? Where's his infrastructure? Where's his support? Where's he gonna get the gene seed? Where is he gonna get the power armor?
Yeah.
He hasn't thought that far ahead, has he?
Not only that, but he would have been declared more than likely in this scenario. What's the term?
Excommunicato Traitoris.
Yes, that. He would have been declared excommunicata traitoris, and therefore become a renegade.
Which we know Titus would never do.
Yeah, so if anything, such a story would have basically had him submit himself to the Inquisition for execution.
Honestly, I think the best theory as to why Titus can resist chaos as well as he did was because he was a latent psyker, and that would have led him to possibly join the Grey Knights.
Yeah.
Which, that would have been interesting too. But ultimately, this brings us back to Space Marine 2. He's back with the Ultramarines, he's been demoted, there's a bit of a mystery as to what's going on with him, and now they have to defend this planet from the Tyranids. Additionally, the Thousand Suns have been spotted, which...
Oh.
Great! Finally! We're done with Khorne! We have been doing Khorne since Dawn of War 1. We're finally doing
Tzeentch!
Yes.
Tzeentch finally gets a game!
Yes.
We can
which I
finally-
realize, Tzeentch, I know I'm biased because I'm a voice actor for Unification, I am a script writer, Ultimately was kind of the secondary guy with the development of the Renegade Guard, which obviously Tech Card is predominantly Tzeentchian, and it's a bit of Slaanesh in there, but Tzeentch is just so much more interesting than Khorne. You could do so much with Tzeentch that you frankly can't with Khorne. Khorne's simple, blood for the blood god. Tzeentch is machinations. He is basically the plot-heavy chaos.
He is the guy who chose a bunch of psychers over the best chapter in the goddamn galaxy for doing psyops. So good that they do not even know which side they are currently on.
Basically, he has basically Hitman Agent 47 on his payroll, and he doesn't even know if he can trust him.
Tzeentch is the true, big bad of the whole Warhammer.
That would be Chaos
4000.
Undivided.
Tzeentch is the brains of Chaos Undivided, let's be real. But,
Tzeentch is the brain. Khorne is Khorne is the muscles. Nurgle is the stomach, and Slaanesh is the balls.
and
That's
Zed.
not an accurate title.
But Tzeentch is probably the one who basically orchestrated the entire Horus Heresy and why everything is the way it is currently.
With probably a healthy amount of assistance from Slaanesh. Never
With
forget,
some-
Slaanesh isn't just about pleasure cults, it's about social infiltration.
Yeah, Slaanesh is definitely the second smartest of the group.
Yeah,
Okay, to be fair, Khorne is also... To be fair, Khorne is not an idiot either.
He's intelligent in the martial sense, not really in the political.
Well, he can also... I don't think he cares if you detonate a bomb to get him skulls, but
So, yeah. Ultramarines are deployed to assist the Imperial Guard on this planet. We gotta kick the Tyranids out. Thousand Suns are here. I think it's pretty obvious the Thousand Suns are probably manipulating events to get something from this planet. Is it a repeat of game number 1? Yes, but we don't hardly know what the Thousand Suns are up to.
Well,
It's interesting it shows them, which means Thousand Suns are the Runic Marines. They are the Psychers. And you have a resistance to psychic energy.
Watch the third game. 20 years from now when we get Space Marine 3, it's going to be against the Necrons, but then some Slaanesh Marines were sighted.
Actually, it's a little bit interesting they didn't go that route because Pariah Nexus is the big thing that Games Workshop is pushing right now. They decided to go with the Tyranids and the Thousand Suns instead, which...
I so want to see the Necrons get
There's
to be a
another
villain
thing.
in the next one.
another thing about the game, you actually don't stay on a single planet. You go to 3 different planets throughout the story. At least it looks like.
Or fuck it, give us a Fire Warrior style game where you play as a Necron. I don't care. I want
That
more
would be
Necrons.
That would suck because you'd be moving at a snail's pace.
Who cares?
Guys.
What's up?
I need to talk
I have
about negative. And this is
Oh.
it might not be a big negative, but I have a bit of an issue with the voice acting.
Uh-huh.
No, it doesn't have to do with the change with Captain Titus. The guy that got to play as Titus, he sounds good.
Okay.
I'm fine with it. My problem is with the squad. When you played as Titus and you linked up with Solandro and Leandros and all those guys, or sorry, Sidonis and Leandros, you could very clearly tell who was Leandros and who was Sidonis. They had very distinctive, well-enunciated voices. That's not the case here. Your squad mates sound exactly the same. it's a problem. You can't quite tell who the hell is talking. And at times they can even sound a little bit like Tyus' voice actor. I think that the point I'm trying to get here is Dawn of War and Space Marine, they really captured the feeling of Marines being these bigger-than-life, almost mythological heroes. They were knights, basically. Whereas now, they're gruffer, they sound like Londonites. You know, got a little bit of Cockney.
Which is weird, because they're supposed to be Italian.
Well, Greco-Roman, more accurately. But then again, Games Workshop is incapable of remembering their own lore past 8th edition, so what do we know?
They're also incapable of hiring voice actors who aren't just outside on the streets of London.
Basically. That's my big pet peeve, and I could be wrong. Maybe it's a case of you just play the game for a while and you very quickly can tell, oh, this guy and this guy and this guy is whoever. But just from the get-go, it just bothers me. I'm a voice actor. You want your characters to sound distinct from each other, especially in a setting where you have a squad-based system. You gotta tell who is who.
Mm-hmm.
This is ultimately the reason why with Republic Commando, Tamara Morrison played Boss. He sounded great. But they got other voice actors to play as the Commandos. Does it make sense, canonically speaking? No. They're all clones. But because they chose really
To be fair,
actors...
To be fair about clone commandos, they are heavily genetically modified.
Heavily genetically modified that Space Maori suddenly are sounding like New Yorkers.
Exactly.
So that's a potential pet peeve. Obviously, there was that whole controversy of the colored-haired lady who got in there, but she was fired, so that probably doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, she also got fired from the KOTOR remake.
Which is good.
So if anyone still complains about that, you can tell them that they're an idiot.
To be fair, I complained it back in the day, but that was before she got fired. So
Yeah, that was before she was fired. Now she's been fired, and it's still in development hell.
It also looks like Space Marine 2 is going to have a game mode called Eternal War, which is basically
I'm hyped for the co-op mode.
which is basically, yeah, there's that too. But from what I understand, Eternal War just looks like Battlefront, but with Space Marines, which
basically.
Mm-hmm.
I'm down with that. It kind of looks like they're paying homage to Eternal Crusade, which was a game that it's basically a massive multiplayer online war game that basically took Space Marines combat mechanics and adapted it. It did not last very long. It did not do very well.
It got basically no support and it was shut down, despite the pretty supportive player base that was attached to it. Still died.
It's a shame because Eternal Crusade could have been awesome. Plus, you also had more than just Space Marines and Chaos Marines. You also had Eldar, Orcs, maybe Tau, but I don't think there were Tau. I don't know.
This also brings us to Exterminats. They don't call it Exterminats, but it's basically Exterminats from the first game. I think they're actually taking cues from the mods that came out for Exterminats about a year ago, which added, if you played as the Space Marines, it added additional Imperial forces. You had Guardsmen, you had Dreadnoughts, you had Space Marines, because so far we've seen Imperial Guardsmen, we've seen some Imperial Guard vehicles, we've seen additional Space Marine units. Which honestly does make me kind of excited. It feels less like you're just a couple Marines stuck in an arena. It feels like you're part of a larger battle. It will be very interesting to see what they do with the Chaos faction, which Chaos Unleashed was something that was added to Exterminats. You played as Chaos Marines. Which, yeah, you were killing Guardsmen in the first couple of levels, which always makes you feel really guilty.
The thing is, all this stuff actually provides a... They ever want to, like, not just focus on the blueberries, they have this skeleton.
Blood Angels game now.
No, not just Blood Angels. But imagine taking the skeleton, but taking the co-op, like, create a character stuff, to where it's you have any chapter of Space Marines, not just insert chapter here.
As far as I know, in operations, you can choose which chapter you want to be a part of.
Yeah, but that's
Doctor
only for the
supremacy, baby. I'm going to be sniping these bitches from about 50 miles out.
That's only for multiplayer mode. I'm talking about like
I drink your blood.
I'm talking more along like doing it like the original. It's hard to say. Like, you remember when we played EA's Battlefront 2?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
They allowed you to do all the clones in the single player mode as well.
Well, no, there's a single. I'm pretty sure if I looked at this correctly, there is a game mode called Operation. Oh, there's a co-op mode. Never mind. I thought it was a single player missions that you could play as any Space Marine chapter. I was mistaken.
I would so love a Blood Angels game. I'm sick of the blueberries. Or if not that, give us the fucking Grey Knights.
It would
I'll
be.
just say this: the Ultramarines get way more hate than they need to.
If we're
That's
gonna have one of
bad.
Matt
They're supposed
Ward's
to
babies, let's have the good baby. Let's have the Grey Knights, motherfucker. The super
To be
baby.
fair,
I'm
fair,
gonna just
great.
say this: as cool as the Grey Knights are, they are just as overrated as people pretend the Ultramarines are. To be
You
honest,
you better not
I'm
bring
trying to
up.
get into the Grey Knights in their expanded lore. I can't do it. I just don't like these guys.
You better not bring up what I think you're gonna bring up, because
I'm
that did
actually
not
gonna
happen.
bring out.
That did not
was
happen.
dumb, and that was a mandate from GW. Again, can't remember their own lore. No, the problem with the Grey Knights boils down to a fundamental issue with the wider Imperium that they cannot, for some reason, get their heads around. These guys have to go out of their way to murder people who have fought Chaos, which completely invalidates the point of Armageddon and Cadia, specifically. These guys fight Chaos all the time. They are the prime troops they use to fight Chaos, and yet they're like, oh no, we gotta keep the existence of Chaos a secret, so that means we gotta slaughter everybody. It's like, you're being stupid. I realize it's lazy writing from GW, but it sours my taste with the Grey Knights. They're these over-bloated Khal Drago types that, frankly, just not that interesting. They don't have the spark of humanity to them. They're the Men in Black, but without the intrigue.
You want to know why they're like that? You want to know why they're like that? It's because EW is afraid of making them paladins, full stop. Deathly afraid.
This is actually why I bring up Men in Black. What made them interesting. If Men in Black were the stereotypical government agency that has to silence everybody to keep the existence of aliens a secret, they wouldn't be nearly as interesting as they are. What makes Men in Black interesting is that they go out of their way to protect innocent lives. They don't massacre anybody, they'll actually endanger agents for the purpose of, we need to protect the general populace. And that's what makes them interesting, because it adds the challenge to it. Yes, we can nuke a city to keep the aliens at bay, but we're not going to do it because we need to protect the people.
Plus, it also helps that they literally have a device that erases your memories.
Yeah, but right now we're at 40k. That device easily exists in this universe.
We
They
know
also
it
have
does.
fighters. They can easily do the same thing.
You know what makes it even funnier? The Grey Knights actually have that tech.
Mm-hmm.
So, which makes the whole
why
massacre
are we
of
doing
people.
this goofy shit?
Yeah. Another thing,
What all this sounds like is it's a GW problem and not a GK problem.
it really is.
It is, but unfortunately, the Grey Knights have not been, as a faction, they've not been updated in a really long time, and they basically don't want to use them for some reason.
Which is more the reason why they should use them and make them actually cool.
Another
Which they are.
problem that this is not really the Grey Knights problem, but it's a Warhammer problem. 40k treats chaos like it's a mind virus that if you know about it, gives it power, which is just like,
Well, there's a simple reason for that. That's what
What?
leftists think religion is. That's why Arch treats it that way. That's why he thinks the Emperor is right.
which is funny considering in fantasy that's not the case at all, because the Chaos God. Well, to be fair, in fantasy,
Well, fantasy
the
is
Chaos
just the
God-
superior Warhammer, let's be honest.
It really is. But
Well,
in that version of events, the Chaos Gods existed long before the creation of the world. The world was created, so it's like, yeah,
the thing about 40k though, and here's a very important thing that Arch overlooks, is that the Chaos demons were weakened by the existence of other religions, and which is why the faith of the Imperium is so important today, since
Sigmar is the god of anti-chaos.
Since the God Emperor of mankind eliminated all the religions beforehand and shot basically humanity in the foot.
it's more or less like soft confirmed that monotheistic religions destroyed chaos cults on Earth. Pretty much. So,
Yeah, Arch. You stupid motherfucker.
Yeah, well, that dude likes to contort the lore to fit his own personal headcanons.
yeah.
Indeed,
Never mind the fact that the Emperor's plan literally blew up in his face, but we don't talk about that because that's just what's the word? Inconvenient for his narrative.
The Imperium that exists today and has managed to survive for 10,000 years is not the Emperor's Imperium. It's not Malkador's Imperium. It is the Primarch's Imperium.
It's Gilliman's Imperium.
The ashes of the Horus heresy embraced the one and only weapon that allowed it to survive to this day, and that is faith.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is it still a corrupt cesspool? Yes, it is. But it is a cesspool that has managed to survive. And through Gilliman, through Papa G, through the best freaking Primarch there is, I don't care what anyone else has to say on the matter, it might actually have a chance to survive it.
You're wrong, Sanguinius.
Sanguinius is great. Sanguinius is a great Primarch, don't get me wrong, but Papa G is better. Papa G is the planner. Papa G is the logistics guy. Papa G is the dude you get.
He has died. He has risen.
Run a functioning government.
Sanguinius has died. Sanguinius has risen. Sanguinius will come again.
Sanguinius is the symbol. And should he come back, he'll absolutely become the symbol of the Imperium. He will become the Jesus character who will rally the masses to his side.
He's vampire
He
Jesus.
a potential golden age for the Imperium, but never forget, it will be up to Papa G to actually manage that golden age.
Yeah.
And that is why I love Papa G.
I'll also say this: Jagatai Khan is rapidly becoming my favorite character.
Jagatai Khan is great.
Jagatai Khan just doesn't give a shit about the Imperium.
My favorite part is probably during the Siege of Terra, where he's like, they're in the Imperial Palace, and Dorn's like, "Stay here. We'll wait until the Ultramarines show up." And Khan is like, "I'm not going to leave the average people of Terra to die." And he turns to Sanguinius, "Lend me your foresight. Tell me what I can do. If you go, the future is uncertain. Only some things are clear, are certain. Will I save lives? Many." And he's like, "I'm out the door." and he goes and fights in BTFO's Mortarion, because of course he does.
Yes.
I'll just say this with Jagatai Khan. He is obviously got the reputation of being the fastest
Thing alive.
out of there in everything he does, but to just annoy people, he will talk really slow with long ass stories. There's this meme somebody actually did. It's from Bullet Train, where Gilliman is played by Brad Pitt in the movie, and
Jagatai Khan be like, "So I needed to go to Shelbyville to get a new heel for my boot. So I had an onion tied to my belt, which was the style at the time. The boat to Shelbyville cost 5 nickels. I know this because back then, nickels had pictures of bumblebees on them."
All right.
Hiroki Sanada, that's his name. That's
Alright.
the actor from the movie.
I think we got really off topic.
Yes, we did.
Warhammer lore. Let's.
So yeah, what Warhammer Space Marine 2? What final thoughts before we move on to our last game?
I am
Say this. Sorry, go ahead and say your thoughts.
I am optimistic, although I do acknowledge that there is possibility for it to be ruined.
Basically, yes. There's a lot of ways this could very easily go south.
I will say this though, I do look forward to playing Eternal War with you guys.
Yes.
Yes. I might actually break my cardinal rule and actually get this game either on release or close to it.
Same here.
Because that will give me an opportunity to actually possibly talk about it.
The only reason I haven't pre-ordered it is because I don't pre-order.
Don't ever pre-order, ever.
Never pre-order.
Like, even with Steam's very, very, very lax refund policy, where they are very consumer friendly with that refund policy, I'd never pre-order.
Yeah.
Swords?
As for my final thoughts, I just want to say that the sheer amount of Tyranids that they were able to
Oh
actually
yeah.
get on screen
Oh yeah.
was jaw-dropping.
Oh yeah.
Although they don't kill our computers.
Hopefully.
The amount.
I mean, the graphics don't look that intense, and a lot of the Tyranids in the back did look kind of pixelated.
Still
But,
do.
oh yeah.
the unit polys.
The fact that they actually managed to make the Tyranids feel like the Tyranids. Yes. It's not going to be the orcs from the first game. I mean, they did the orcs really well in the first game, but oh boy,
Yeah,
the
they
Tyranids
didn't
and the
really
orcs are
feel
separate.
yeah, you didn't really get the feel of being swamped by them. Also, one last thing I'm going to throw in here. Imperial Guard actually look like they're going to actually be useful.
Yes.
First game, they were. I love the guard in that game, but unfortunately, there's a video out there of 2 guardsmen being literally unable to hit a single freaking orc, no matter what they did.
Meanwhile, a Gretchen can kill a Grey Knight.
If the dice are right, yes.
Yes. To be fair, like, correct me if I'm wrong, Tracer, but can't a guardsman 1v1, depending on where they're from, 1v1 an orc boy?
Let me put you this way. Caiaphas Cain has on multiple occasions outdueled Chaos Astartes.
That's Chaos Kane, though. So,
Caiaphas Cain, despite his luck, is still a man. He's still immortal. I can also bring on Commissar Abram Gaunt, who did the same thing.
What about
Also
Gregor
Zion's-
Eisenhorn?
And of course,
Eisenhorn has
Eisenhorn.
the fortunate aspect of him being a psyker. So, you know.
What we're saying is that if you are Sandy Mitchell or Dan Abbott, main character, there's a good chance you're going to kill some Chaos Astartes. You're going to rack up a body count. But regardless, yes. If you're skilled enough, you're crafty enough, you get the right weapons, a normal human can take on anything in this setting. I mean,
Yes.
for God's sake, we have Chesso Kais. The big badass for Dark Crusade is the same Kais, or Case, or however they pronounce his name, I forget what it was, from Fire Warrior, who in 24 hours racked up an enormous body count of Astartes, Imperial Guardsmen, Stormtroopers, Chaos Astartes, Tech Priests, Demon Princes, multiple Chaos Sorcerers, and a Greater Lord of Change. Oh, and an Obliterator.
I always pronounce his name as Kais.
Yeah, it's Kais. And it's confirmed, Kais is the same guy as the badass Okais from Dark Crusade. It just makes too much sense.
Yeah, he was promoted.
We've got
Shazzle.
the railed again.
This
Yeah.
man literally created his own fighting styles in the Tau that's referred to as Army of One.
Koopa
Yeah,
and
that
friends
is so
discuss
badass,
Warhammer
man.
40k. We need to do that as a stream.
That would be fun, but let's move on to the last
Yeah, this
topic.
last game.
Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 4, otherwise known as Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, is some that Tracer you have no experience with Dragon
Yeah.
Ball aside from playing it with us with University briefly, which I promise I'll make it up to you someday, somehow,
Some way.
some way.
Anyway, I haven't played the Budokai Tenkaichi series, but
I
I have
have.
played Raging.
All three.
I played Raging Blast and Raging Blast 2, which is basically based off of those. Yeah.
You have my sympathy.
Okay. Okay, so it's like Xenoverse, except
Good.
take out the created character.
It is the greatest Dragon Ball thing to ever exist. I played the first 3 games. Like I played the first one on PlayStation. I didn't have a memory card for that. I had the second and the third one on Wii. I ought to be looking to get these 3 games on my PC, if you know what I mean. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But, oh my god, it looks so fucking good, and I'm so glad we're back to Dragon Ball Sparking. I have missed it so much. It looks like there's going to be a story mode, there's going to be what-ifs. It's going to be primarily super focused, which there's no GT content yet, which a lot of people are being really, really, really salty about, which they're retarded. Like, come on, guys. They are building you up as the whales. They are excluding GT specifically for the purpose to sell you GT as a DLC pass. You dumb motherfuckers. You can play now, and then you're going to buy the game anyway. And then the GT stuff's going to be announced, and you're going to pay extra money. You stupid fucks.
Besides, Dragon Ball needs to be in before GT anyways. Without Dragon Ball, we wouldn't even be here.
Dragon Ball was barely even in 3. But yeah, oh my god, like the new character, we get Kaba hasn't been confirmed yet, but Khalifa and Kale have been, so Kaba is on the way, which is really good because the 3 of them are some of my favorite characters from Super. We've seen Angelisa, the combined robot bio android thing from the Tournament of Power. Jiren is in. Ultra Instinct is in. Ultra Instinct Sign seems to be in. The
Super Saiyan Rage Trunks, despite implemented not as well as other transformations, is finally playable for the first time.
Mm-hmm. Like all the stuff from the Future arc, all of this. I imagine all of the stuff from Battle of the Gods and Sparking Zero. That's Super. Battle of the Gods and Resurrection F. We're seeing as automatic confirms if unlocks if you pre-order. Canon Broly is in, which is really good because Canon Broly is awesome. We're even seeing weird out there characters like the Kamikaze Fireball, for fuck's sake.
Heck, we're getting, there's a hint that Chi-Chi might be playable.
Not even Kid Chi-Chi, who actually was in 3. Adult Chi-Chi.
Yeah, because people forget that she fought in the World Martial Arts Tournament.
And trained Goten.
That too.
But holy crap, this... if I was... I'm gonna say this up front. I haven't done this yet because I do not have the money. If I was ever going to pre-order a game, which I don't need to because it comes out so close to my birthday, that's honestly irrelevant. If I was ever going to pre-order a game, it'd probably be this one. Even though it has a $70 price tag, fuck you Bandai Namco for that. And even though, they're already upcharging the DLC stuff already, so they're blocking off parts of the game to sell as DLC for the first season already. But it's already confirmed to be 21 characters as DLC. So that's not fucking bad for a DLC pass. I can justify the fucking $110 price tag in my mind. Even though most of that justification is cope. I love Dragon Ball Sparking. What can I say? Oh, and one more thing. Tiancha and Cellin are characters from a completely different Dragon Ball fighting series. They are not going to be in this game. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
I'll say this. I am personally looking forward to this game, even though I've never played the first 3 games.
You would love them. In fact,
I know I would.
If you're willing to go yo ho, a pirate's life is me, then join me after here in my search for epic adventure and treasure and all that One Piece fun stuff.
Maybe when
I don't have to.
Computer upgraded.
What, you can't handle a PS2 game?
Well, at least for me, I don't have to because I actually own all 3 games for the PS2 already.
Did your PS2 still work?
Yes.
Well, there you go.
It's not that I don't know if my last computer can do it. at this current point.
Hey, if you can handle Helldivers, you can handle a PS2 game. I'm
Well,
just full up saying Helldivers is way more intense.
It is, but I'm on a different setup, so when I play Helldivers.
Fair enough.
So before we move on, one thing I've noticed that is weird.
By move
Is
on, you mean
character-
wrap up, because we've been going on for a while.
Yeah.
This has been fun.
Some characters are lacking some of their famous transformations. Like
As in, it's
Spike,
not been revealed yet.
like Future Trunks is lacking Super Saiyan 2 and Super Saiyan 1.
Which hasn't been revealed yet.
One thing I hope they do for Sparking Zero is they do the Trunks Boo arc where he fights Deborah.
We got that in Kakarot.
Yeah, I
Same.
hope they do that in Sparking Zero though.
Oh, we need to talk about the what ifs.
Oh,
because
yeah.
They look awesome, like the
Oh,
father-son Final Flash on
Ye-
Cell.
Even more than that, make your own what-if scenarios. It gives you the tools to do that. That looks so cool.
Okay, that does sound intriguing.
Yep, Gerudo was completely right about that.
The one time he's right about something.
Yeah. That sounds cool. Alright, I think we're done.
Yep, that was the Summer Games Fest. Only 5 good games.
And we've
Better
been
than
going
last year
for
when there was
2.5
only 2.
hours. We've been going for over 2.5 hours.
Hey, like, I took a month off.
That's-
I give the people what they want, which is more of me. Which brings me to this one final announcement. I'm going to be taking next week off because I've been off for a month for a good reason. For those who haven't been following my Twitter or my community feed, my air conditioner broke sometime after Memorial Day, which is why videos came to a halt. Because I could not, for the life of me, record. And, like, where I live, it got over 100 several times over the course of the month.
With humidity.
With
which is
humidity.
awful.
Which was awful. And it was like, I was in no condition to record. I would have to keep my fans on just to record something. But even then, I could not focus. It would take... Where a recording session would usually, for a 10 to 20 minute video, would usually take me 1 or 2 hours, would take me an entire day. And an editing session, which would take me almost like... I will crunch it for a day, but it will be done from when I wake up to when I go to sleep. It'll be done. It would take me at least 3 days to get like a 10-minute video done, just because the heat was that unbearable. And like furthermore, I don't have that many scripts written as a result. Normally I do these things as they come to me, as the inspiration hits me, but the only thought that was running through my mind that entire month of June was, fuck me, it is fucking hot. And I obviously cannot do a video where that's the script. So, like, just a little
Which
more
is pretty
patience.
broken
I
up.
have,
It's fucking hot.
I did start some scripts. I didn't finish them. I'll be working on those over this next week and 2 weekends. And then I will return to, when I'm working on my next video, I will announce it on my Twitter and in my community feed that I have started recording, and it will come out that Friday. So please be patient with me, and thank you for staying a subscriber despite this month that I've spent off, which wasn't at all my fault.
All right, man. Well, I'm glad that your air conditioner is finally fixed.
Oh yeah, it is. And the tower fan working with it makes my room even cooler.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Final thoughts on this Game Fest?
I didn't watch it, so
Yeah.
None of us watched
Yeah,
it except for me, and I didn't even watch the full thing. There are
Yeah, I'm
chunks I
excited
just
for-
skipped.
I'm excited for
Well-
some of the games, but that's about it.
Yeah, I just watched the trailers afterward when you gave me the list of stuff to basically research for this.
So yeah,
Like, at best, I just watched the Nintendo Direct.
so yeah, that was
before- Sorry.
So yeah, that was this year's E3. This was this year's Summer's Game Fest. It sucked. Well, if Gamescom does anything interesting, we'll probably talk about it. It won't be a 2.5 hour long stream, but we might say something. Because that's all the way in August. That's after the Paris Olympics, even. And it's so weird we're not getting a Sonic Mario Paris Olympics game. I like those. I also like having the Olympic Games on as background noise whenever the Summer Olympics are on. The winter one, not so much, but the summer one, definitely. Go Team USA. So yeah,
Touching Sonic.
I declare excommunicated Cadum Traitoris on Swordsman. He is a traitor to this country, and he shall be ejected from the ship. You have been voted the imposter.
Excommunicato Traitoris.
Yes.
That. All right. Bye, everybody.
But
This has been-
Game on.
Game on.